Assassin's Creed Shadows is the next game from the same team that created Odyssey. This carries some implications, even though it hews closer to the grounded vibes of an assassin with a hidden blade. Perhaps unsurprisingly, this means a middle ground when it comes to how stealth, assassinations, and assassination damage are handled. Before going further, note that Guaranteed Assassination is a setting in this options menu, which was a feature players were glad for in Valhalla. That's back, so if you don't want to engage with this aspect of play and find it creates a worse or tedious experience for you, you can feel free to toggle this on. I will not be doing that on my first playthrough, because I want to engage with the game's design as authentically as possible, so I can discuss and critique it after I finish it. You can't meaningfully describe or analyze what you haven't experienced. For me, Guaranteed Assassination's value is something I use when I make choreography or gameplay showcases, situations where I want to ensure a smooth video flow with minimal UI on screen. It's a handy tool or something to slip into when I want to just tear shit up without hesitating around certain guard archetypes as intended. So the reason stealth damage in Shadows is such an improvement is because of its contrast against how problematic stealth damage was in Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. In short, damage was processed the same way by the game no matter what source it came from. The only thing that mattered is the total amount of damage your action did, calculated against the total remaining health pool of the enemy you acted on. It doesn't matter if you're hitting them with a sword, an arrow, a hidden blade, a Spear of Leonidas stab, a health bar is a health bar. If your hidden blade or assassination damage is upgraded enough through equipment or skills, you'll kill. If it isn't, you'll deal a chunk of damage, but will not kill. This causes detection and combat in unsatisfied stealth players, mostly due to poor clarity. Poor clarity is the key phrase to remember here, and enhanced clarity is the reason why the way Shadows does things is such a huge improvement. Even if you play with Assassination build crafting enabled as a gameplay element to keep in mind, meaning even if you leave Guaranteed Assassination off, it's still better than it used to be. It used to be a problem of trust, of certainty. You didn't know if your blade would exceed the takedown threshold on different enemy health bars from a distance. This forced players to painstakingly check every guard they wanted to take down by creeping behind them and waiting for the health preview, or throwing caution to the wind and just hoping they would do enough damage to kill by the time you actually got in range to grab them, something that doesn't always go in your favor. This excruciatingly staggered style of play obviously feels really bad for stealth players who are already planning their next several moves in advance, players who don't just go for the next guard in sight, but are looking ahead to the next 4 or 5. Assassin's Creed Valhalla offered an interesting solution. It was called Advanced Assassination. By getting that skill in Eivor's tree, she could still hit and blade kill anything in the game with a single interaction, provided you landed a special button press inside of a timing window that was activated when you began the takedown. The more health the target had relative to your hidden blade damage, the harder and tighter it was to time. This worked very well, but part of the reason it did is that Valhalla massively de-emphasized build crafting. There wasn't really much of a loss in bypassing the optimization burden because that entire aspect of the game had been watered down in the first place. Loot and gearing were not central aspects of Valhalla. They felt more like superfluous legacy features that were just kind of there because they were in the last game. And this paring back was likely a response to feedback that some players really disliked how oppressively they were designed and tuned before. For Shadows though, a game that actually wants the player to care about engaging with gear and skill systems that have had dramatic effort and time poured into them, Advanced Assassination does not fit very well as an unlockable skill. So, Shadows has a different solution, identifying a root cause behind why players were frustrated with stealth damage and fixing it via clarity and readability. In last night's skill tree reference footage, you may have noticed that the wording around assassination damage has changed. In Shadows, assassination damage is not treated the same way as it was in previous games. It's processed as separate from the generic damage calculations you would get from a sword slash or a body shot from a ranged weapon. Instead of dealing damage the usual way, actions categorized as assassinations now remove a predictable amount of health segments from an enemy's bar. And now, all enemy health bars are segmented, so when you observe them from afar, you know well ahead of time how much they have and how much you'll do. If we take a look at this hidden blade skill, this brutal assassination skill, this kunai skill, and this silent arrow skill, we can see that they behave according to the same paradigm. They don't deal damage in the usual way if they strike enemies from stealth, they deal damage by removing health segments outright, which is easy to remember and easy to reference from far away. No more questioning whether you'll do enough damage to exceed a remaining HP pool. Instead, you see a guard as 4 chunks, you know if your hidden blade will do 4 chunks either innately or via conditions, like with +1 segment removed on Air Assassinate gear perk, before you're anywhere near him, then you know he's dead if you reach him. This is a massive quality of life upgrade to planning and real-time stealth tactics. No more hesitation, no more second guessing. Observe a guard from any distance and you already know exactly how the interaction will play out, provided you hit your shot or get in range without detection. The reason this is so good is that it satisfies build crafting and stealth integrity at the same time. I think people have this misconception that there are only two extremes of player when it comes to a game like this. Either you want the build crafting but don't care about stealth working traditionally, or you want stealth to be reliable and hate build crafting completely. But the reality is not so simple. There is a massive group of players who basically get forgotten about, who are kind of in the middle. They want to engage with the game systems as designed, but they also want to enjoy a reliable, trustworthy stealth experience. And so, neither guaranteed assassination nor the absurdly oppressive optimization burden of something like Odyssey would satisfy them. Well, Shadows has those players' backs now. I briefly touched on it a moment ago, but ranged weapons work exactly like this too. From stealth, Naoe's kunai and Yasuke's silent arrows will list how many segments they remove on hit. If that exceeds an enemy's total segments either innately or through conditions, then great, you're good. You can of course also aim at an enemy's head and get the usual damage prediction, but the point is, now you don't even have to do that. All in all, this system and this method of processing and surfacing stealth damage is clearer, more transparent, more readable, more predictable. It feels less like you're being cheated due to something unexpected happening. Guaranteed assassination is also still a toggle in the settings menu if you prefer that, or if you want to play without HUD, like if you're recording a showcase you just don't like UI on the screen. Basically, I think this is the best way they've ever done it, and engaging with the system earnestly is going to feel better than it has in any previous game they've released in this format. This, combined with Stealth on Expert being fairly strict and punishing, should create a pretty cerebral, thoughtful experience that players who found Stealth in games like Mirage, Syndicate, or Unity too easy should enjoy a little bit more. Let me know what you think of how stealth damage has changed, and whether you're willing to try the system as designed now that it's so much more clear and less unfair, or if you're just gonna slap Guaranteed Assassination on and won't worry about it at all. Anyway, thanks for listening, may fog shroud you, may stars light your way, and may the night keep you safe.